Hello guys and welcome back to a new video. If you will enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments to help me boost this video. Thanks. Story 1. Stiff me on overtime. Hew the lawn. Expensive. Revenge. This happened in the early 2000s when I joined a startup. We agreed on a salary and no paid overtime and an evaluation in 3 months. And then annually. Standard stuff mostly. It was a very mediocre salary for the work, but I really liked work itself, which was extremely interesting and challenging. For me, even if the finances were so-so, I felt I'd learn a lot of skills which would be useful in the future. After 3 years, and having 10 decent clients and a bunch of clients trialing, and money rolling in, the talk turned to back pay and paid overtime plus compensating for past overtime. At that point, around $50 K and odd had been accrued, which is a lot. Legally, it couldn't be back pay, so the talk was always of a discretionary bonus. Now at this point, everyone is okay with this, myself included. And this was discussed in writing, via company emails too, so I felt secure, and that no bad will was in play. I felt the company should be able to afford the payment. Equally, I'd happily settle for equity and a discount, which is legally possible there if cash flow was an issue. The discussions about back pay, possible equity, and now started to drag on, and I was getting irked by this. In the end, I was made an offer of equity, which meant the company valuation was far beyond anything reasonable. In the hundreds of millions, and I'd get minuscule stake less than 0.01% of a company with 9 employees. And a projected annual turnover of around 2 million. It was a FU of sorts to stiff me out of money, and I didn't want to take that lying down. To say I was furious was an understatement. Anyway, the day he made that offer, I handed in my resignation. This sent the CTO into panic mode because the CEO had refused an updated contract. And I was still on a 1-month notice period, plus I had a lot of untaken paid leave. Basically, it meant I was walking out right then and there. So, off I went that very same day, to the shock and surprise of everyone, I guess. The next day I sent an official, registered, letter requesting my overtime, back pay, and received a negative response, which I followed up with another, detailed, demand. This was also rejected because the bonus was discretionary, and there is no overtime. However, I'd been seeking legal advice, and I understood that they don't have a leg to stand on if I am willing to pay for an attorney, as the liability in such matters is firmly and 100% on the employer. I was willing. You need to understand that going to a lawyer was very rare in those parts back then, so companies didn't generally expect this outcome. Things have since changed. When going through the applicable laws, with the attorney, I noticed there is a limitation of 7 years. So, while my attorney was laying out what to do in order to get me my money in as little as a few weeks, I just asked him, what if we wait until it's 6 years and 11 months after the transgression, and then file, demanding interest. I wanted this because the law stated that back pay is due at a 9% APR above the base rate 3.25%. At that time, accrued daily, for every day past the due date. We're looking at about 12.5% compound daily APR. The risk is that the company folds in that time, but I decided to take that risk. I sent one final letter stating that I expect all the owed and accrued amounts to date to be paid immediately. Of course, nothing happened. For the next few years, life rolled on. The company did grow and become a known player in the area. When the time came, I found an attorney and started the case. We had copies of all the communications, copies of the registered letters, and responses. The back pay demanded now, including interest, was $112 K. What I didn't know was that in addition to this, that there are fixed penalties for each instruction to perform uncompensated overtime. The total demand was something like $135 K. To say that the CEO, who was still CEO, lost his SHT would be an understatement. I got a very verbally abusive phone call, which I dutifully recorded as it wasn't completely unexpected and was added to the filing. The CEO fought, or tried to, but when the judge heard the phone call, he took an immediate dim view. Reading through all the communication just put more nails in the defense's coffin. The judge just ruled and instructed the company to pay immediately, and without delay, and also ordered the company to pay all my legal costs. They also got a full audit from the Department of Labor. The company paid up a week later. To add insult to injury, the evening of the court's decision, the CEO apparently got very drunk and crashed his car into another vehicle while drunk. He got a Dewey conviction and lost his driving license for half a year. And his insurance refused to pay out for the damages to his vehicle brand new Mercedes S-Class as he was drunk. All in all, a glorious day. Story 2. How I got a car dealership to give my friend a newer car. Circa 2020 January, my friend makes a stupid decision and buys a brand new car he can't afford. His insurance is like $400 a month. He makes like $10.25 an hour working as a shift supervisor at McDonald's. His car payment is like $795 a month. Now at $10.25 an hour, 30 hours a week, that's a weekly income of about $300 a week, or about $1,230 a month, So yay. So my friend came to me for help because I used to sell cars and know the industry pretty well. I go over his paperwork. The dealer did rip him off, but my friend is trying to find a way to get out of this mess. And ripping someone off isn't illegal. They did, of course, overcharge him for warranty. They gave him a higher APR. They had add-ons, etc. But none of that is illegal. And I know the only way I can get my friend out of this deal is if they did something illegal. So I look at his finance application that my friend signed. It correctly listed his income, which turned a light bulb on in my head. No bank is going to approve someone for a $795 car payment if they are only making $1,200 a month. It does not make mathematical sense to do that. So I start searching through his paperwork for the finance app the dealer submitted to the bank. Oftentimes, when you submit a finance application at a dealership, the dealership will take the hand-filled out application and reproduce it electronically. This is pretty normal. However, on the application the dealer submitted to the bank, the dealer said my friend was a GM of the McDonald's and made $70,000. My friend had good credit, so it doesn't appear like the bank asked for proof of income. So I go to the dealership with my friend and tell the sales manager he's going to want to put me in touch with the GM because we are going to be unwinding my friend's deal and giving his trade-in back. The sales manager thought I was joking. The GM also thought I was joking. And I demonstrated how his dealership finance department committed bank fraud. I showed the GM the finance app my friend filled out. I then showed the GM the finance app his dealership submitted to the bank and pointed at the income difference. My friend really made $14K a year. The dealership claimed my friend made $70K a year. That's bank fraud. That's a felony. Let's keep this simple, shall we? The GM sees his dealership is in a load of shit. The proof I am presenting to him is rock solid. He knows it, I know it, we are all on the same page. He goes, okay, so what can I do to make this right? I go unwind the deal, give me my friend his trade-in back. Unwinding the deal is basically the GM agreeing to cancel the deal, and basically erasing the deal, and pretending it never happened. GM tries to avoid that, but I remain firm, and remind him we can easily take this documentation, and turn his life in a living hell. He knows I'm right. My friend also needs a car to get to work the next day. The GM says he'll check into it. He comes back and tells me, unfortunately, they sold his trade-in already. I said that's fine. Unwind the deal, and let's put my friend into something as good or slightly better than what he traded in for. So the GM goes, so he'll buy a car similar to his trade-in. I said no, you'll give him a car similar to his trade-in. The GM goes, it doesn't work that way. I go, it does when you commit bank fraud. GM is upset with me, and I remind him, I'm being really nice, and this situation can totally get really ugly. Like felony level charges ugly. Like losing your franchise ugly. So yeah, this is going hurt ... but it's going hurt less my way. So the GM goes, all right, and he looks in his inventory, and he tells me they have a 2007 Focus with 10K more miles. I tell him no, the car you give my friend needs to be the same or better than what he traded, and the GM counters, I'm giving him a free car. And I go, no, you took his trade in. You sold it, you made money on that sale. You also committed a felony in the process of selling him his new car. You are now correcting that mistake. This isn't a free car for my friend. This is you are correcting your mistake. GM insists that's what he's willing to do. I tell him if he can't do better than that, we will go to a consumer protection attorney and have a conversation with them. My friend didn't want to go this route, but it was our plan B. We get up. The GM says, wait, give me a second. The GM goes, I have a 8 Civic. It has 5K more miles, but it's a Civic and not a Focus. I unwind the deal on the new car and put your friend in the Civic at no extra cost. We agree. GM has the paper drawn up. The old loan on the new car is canceled. They take in the new car again, but because it's already titled, they'll have to sell it as used. That sucks for them, and they gave my friend a better car than the one he traded in. For people asking why we didn't get a lawyer involved from the start, we could have done that. The courts take a long time, and this was a faster way to fix the situation. Story 3. Terrorize my family. Enjoy losing everything and going back to jail. And wife douchebag, entitled woman 2. Hello, this is a long post, so buckle up for the ride. Myself and my wife had just had our second child and moved into a duplex in an amazing neighborhood, had its own playground even. We moved in and greeted the neighbors, bunch of younger people, but they seemed okay. The first day after moving in, we find that they're gone. And they're left their 7-year-old on a school day outside our door with a bag of goldfish and a note asking us to watch him while they went out. Cue CPS call number 1. The neighbors and me got along really well. Old guy next door repaired bikes for a hobby, and the next door neighbor did woodworking and would always come over to see the kids and sent his grandkids over to play too. They warned us that our upstairs neighbors were trouble, constant traffic going in and out and parties every single night. This was 110% the truth. It got to the point we couldn't sleep at night, and we had multiple altercations to the point it was full-blown yelling matches. The landlord was useless and would do nothing to get rid of them, so I bided my time. Eventually, one night they came home in their red Mazda 3, and it was destroyed. They must have hit someone and ran. So I called the RCMP to let them know, as at the very least I figured they'd get in deep shit. But oh man, I had no idea what I had just unleashed. Turns out the douchebag had a warrant out for his arrest for drug trafficking. He got hauled away in cuffs that night, and entitled woman 2 got a visit from CPS again, as they left their son home alone again. This wasn't once or twice, it was every single day. So my wife went digging for names and found the mother on Facebook. Using public record searches, we found out that they owed Easy Home nearly $48K in assets, as they had taken off from the original address with all of their furniture, including TVS and a huge sound system. 48 hours later, the sheriff was there with a box truck emptying their house. Took the beds, couches, TVS, the annoying subwoofer system, kitchen set, and even the dressers. CPS came shortly after and removed the child from the house. I didn't enjoy seeing him taken away, but they never fed him and he was always in the same clothing, and it was falling apart. We went out of our way to make sure he had full meals. When we could not gonna let a kid starve, the douchebag went to jail for drug possession. He was out on bail and hid the drugs in a dresser they took. Entitled woman 1 went to jail for assaulting the sheriff, and entitled woman 2 actually had a happy ending. Far as I know, after she lost her son, she went through multiple programs to clean herself up and started working to provide for her son. Ran into her a couple years ago, and she thanked me for what I did. I got pro-revenge on the drug dealer and his girlfriend, and thankfully helped someone get on the right path. Story 4. Young firefighter disrespects a lieutenant, so I shame him and get him to quit. I'm not sure if this is pro or not, but I got revenge on a douchebag I used to volunteer firefight with. This was in the early, mid-2000s. I decided to go in the local fire department as a volunteer firefighter. I did it for about 5 years, and it was great. Training consisted of 3 months of fire training, 2 nights a week, and all day Saturday, and then you would go to EMT training, another 3 months of training. I was about a year, and I was asked to help train some new recruits. One of the lieutenants, Amy, was a short, middle-aged woman who was so full of fire she could make a grown man cry. One of those people who commands both fear and respect wherever she went. Honestly, a great lieutenant and great person. When she wasn't being a drill sergeant, she was extremely kind and generous. She would often bake people cakes and treats and deliver them to the various stations in our department. However, in this new academy class that I was asked to help with, there was a cocky kid that we will call Aaron. Aaron talked big during the training and acted like he was the all-American hero, like he was going to be the lead badass in Backdraft 2. He performed moderately well in training, but far from the top of the class. He gets assigned to Amy's station, which is a pretty quiet station in the department. A few months after he starts, Amy swings by my station one night to say hi. She brings us the motherlode cake from Claim Jumper Massive 6-layer cake. She explained that she had treated her crew to a night out at Claim Jumper, which must have cost a lot of money. I think she took out about 8 people and bought a whole cake to top it all off. They had eaten the first 2 layers, so she gave us the remaining 4. We thanked her profusely, and she left. Back then, the big social media platform was MySpace, and I decided to look up some of the people in the department to make friends. I came across Aaron's page, and I noticed some photos of him and the rest of his crew at Claim Jumper with Amy. However, when I read the comments, he bragged about how he had purposefully ordered the most expensive dinner, appetizers, and drinks since Amy was buying. He bragged about how he was going to take advantage of her stupidity. This alone pissed me off, because she was doing this super nice and generous. What an ungrateful, selfish dick. Then I read the rest of his profile. He had videos and memes on his page glorifying himself as a badass firefighter, bragging about running into burning building and how he was such a hero. He was flirting with girls, blatantly trying to impress them with how brave he is. Bear in mind, he just graduated from the academy 3 months prior and hadn't even gone to EMT school. He had never been to a house fire, and all he basically did was carry gear for the other fully qualified firefighters. It was too much for me to tolerate. So here is the revenge. I printed off copies of his MySpace page, including his comments about Amy and toxic bragging. I made multiple copies and took them to every station in the department. We all had pagers, God I'm old, and a small keyboard at each station to send out text messages. I made an anonymous, all-staff page to everyone in the department. I had to keep it brief since I couldn't fit a ton of characters, but I sent out his MySpace info and told everyone about how he treated Amy. Within an hour, Aaron had cleared out his MySpace page of all posts, photos, etc. A couple of days later, he deleted his account. It's a good thing I made so many copies. Immediately after this happened, he stopped coming to volunteer, and a few weeks later, I heard that he had quit. I later talked to Amy and admitted I was the one who sent the page. I told her I hated how he treated her, and she thanked me. She seemed really sad and hurt by what he had done. But being the tough short lady that she was, she quickly got back into being an actual badass firefighter. She later started dating and married a fire chief that also helped at the academy. I've lost touch with her, but I hope she did well. She seemed pretty happy last time I saw her. Story 5. Call me a race trader and a PM on Reddit. Let's destroy your life. A few years ago, on a different Reddit account, I mentioned that I was in an interracial relationship. A Redditor reached out to me and told me I was a race traitor and unfaithful to my race. I was like, WTF, bro. I looked at his account. It was 6 years old, which told me his username was likely something he used a lot. So I started Googling his username at Gmail, username at Yahoo, etc., and I found a match with Hotmail. A guy by the name of, let's say, Jeff was selling some NFL game tickets and had posted his email. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's the same person. However, in the post, he mentioned a city in America and that he was a fan of a particular football team. I went through the Reddit user post history. He posted quite a bit in the respective city subreddit. He mentioned going to NFL games, and in another post, he also said he was born in Canada. So through the ad for the NFL ticket, I figured out his real name. I found his biography on his employer's website. He was a senior level manager, so they had a bio for him. In that bio, they mentioned he was born in Canada, was a fan of said NFL team, and loved living in the city. I also found his LinkedIn page during this time. So I sent him a connect request on LinkedIn, which he accepted. I figured he would because he had 500 plus connections. So here's what we know. His username matches his email handle. He likes the NFL team. He lives in a said city that he posts in said city's subreddit. He was born in Canada. I then found his Facebook page. His Facebook page was public, and he posted what I would describe as semi-racist material. Also, his Reddit page was significantly more racist. Based on the numerous connecting factors I determined, so I create a report. I included screenshots and links and summarized my findings in that report. Now, based on this person's position in his company, he likely had a significant role in deciding who this company employs. Also, his company clearly stated they were an equal opportunity employer. So I called their HR department. I found the number, and I called them, and I asked them, would you be concerned if a senior level manager in your organization was a proud racist and degraded your equal opportunity employment policies? They were concerned. So I told them I had done an investigation into one of their senior level managers and described he was racist, and I had put together all my evidence and findings in a report and could email it over to them. I emailed them the report. A few weeks later, I called to get an update, and I was told they appreciated my report. However, they would have to comment on the status of their decision and make public statements in regard. Basically, thanks for letting us know, but we aren't going to tell you shit. That's fine. So I waited another month, and I kept checking his LinkedIn page. Then one day, I saw a LinkedIn post from him in which he said he is looking for a new opportunity, and if anyone had any positions open. So I messaged him on Reddit, and I told him, hey bro, heard you got fired. Just want you to know I'm the reason why. He threatened to find out who I was, hunt me down, rape my spouse, and strangle me to death. So I reported him to Reddit admins who promptly perma-banned him. Now, he really should have learned his lesson. Because guess what, ... he didn't connect the dots. He didn't know I could see all his LinkedIn activity. He didn't know who I was. He simply acted in rage. So I put his newest message in his folder and added it the report. Because you see, I can be an incredibly vindictive motherfucker. I checked his LinkedIn ... once a week. Good news. He got another job. Bad news, their HR department was also quite easy to get a hold of and discuss their new hire's online racist, threatening behavior. However, let's just say I had a lovely conversation with this HR representative. She was a woman, and based on how she sounded, and her name, I suspect she was a woman of color. So yay. I'm not sure what happened after this, because a few weeks later his internet history was cleaned up and his LinkedIn page was deleted. However, this company listed their senior management, which was what his position was. I never saw his name listed. What I suspect happened is after his HR reviewed my evidence, they terminated his employment with them. I would have totally gone after him a third time ... But he got smart the second time around.